Even small progress is, I mean, honestly, it still is progress. Even when it feels invisible or it feels like you can't see it, every day you're working towards, a bigger goal or a better mental state or a better life. And, that progress you make, whether it's through your job or through how you treat others or your art or your passion projects or, if you're a parent, you're making progress as a parent every single day. You don't have to change your whole life overnight, just small steps every single day can help. I make small steps every day to try to become a better person and to be more kind. I used to be way less kind to people, but as the years went on, I learned how to be nicer to people and I learned how to treat people with dignity and to treat people with respect. One step forward still counts, no matter how slow it feels. Growth isn't loud. It's often, a steady and quiet thing that happens beneath the surface. And it's something you tend to look back and then you're like, oh my God, I actually changed a lot. And, I noticed that I have changed a lot with what I just described about how I was nicer to people and more kind to people and just like learned how to treat others. The small things you do today are building your future. Like if you're working that extra day of overtime at your job, you're working towards maybe buying a house or something of that nature, or a little bit of practice if you're playing Call of Duty to become better at Call of Duty, or a little bit of practice on your guitar because you want to get better at guitar, stuff like that. You're moving forward even if it doesn't look like it yet. And progress doesn't need to be perfect to be real. Some days just getting through is enough. But yeah, your tiny improvements add up over time. Like if you're practicing sweep picking on guitar, I was practicing sweep picking on guitar for a while and I got pretty decent at it. Of course, I stopped playing guitar for a really long period of time and now I'm terrible at guitar. I can still play like all my core riffs and stuff like that because I maintained that, but like any of the extra crazy stuff, I'll have to practice to get better, but that's just kind of how it goes. Um, you're closer than you were yesterday, and that matters. Every single day is working towards that bigger goal, and you just kind of keep your eyes on the ball and hold on to hope and stuff like that, and keep that in your heart. Um, Slow progress is still better than standing still, so um, just don't stand there and not try. Actually, put in some effort, and you'll get really far. And you don't need big wins to be proud of yourself. Celebrate the small wins. Some people get 100 million views on YouTube. I got like 50,000 in the last 3 weeks, and I celebrated that because that's huge to me, especially if you think about that many people standing together side by side. That's actually pretty huge. It's all about that perspective. It's all about how you look at things. And every effort that you make now is shaping who you're becoming. It's okay if your journey doesn't look impressive yet. One day you'll look back and be like, dang, I actually did a pretty good job? The fact that you're still trying means everything. Even the smallest step is proof that you haven't given up. Progress isn't always going to be visible, but it's always happening beneath the surface? And that's one thing I always try to like think about is like when I'm practicing Call of Duty or practicing guitar or practicing singing, which I highly recommend you check out the songs playlist on this channel. I have 45 videos in that playlist of stuff that I created music wise, and I'm really proud of it. And it took a lot of practice to get to where I was. I mean, the production's not perfect or anything like that, but I'm very proud of it. And I can look back and be like, dang, I didn't do so bad, and I definitely came a long way. But you're building strength in ways you don't even notice. And one good choice, like if you're presented with a choice, make the right choice. And that can lead to another good choice. One thing to remember, though, is that it is okay to move at your own pace. You're allowed to grow slowly. Um, and small steps, they create big change over time. So, keep going. Keep making those small steps every single day. And keep building towards that thing that you want. One thing that I want is to get a house for my family. I think that would be really cool. But you got to keep going even when it feels like nothing is changing because one day you'll look back and realize that stuff did change. And you're doing more than you think you are. Just by pushing through, just by showing up, you're actually doing something and you're making that commitment. And progress doesn't need an audience to be meaningful. You alone can um, actually have those realizations that you are making progress. Every little bit counts, even on the hard days. And You're still moving forward, and that's what matters. So just keep swimming like Dory said, and just keep putting one foot in front of the other and keep building up towards what you want. Maybe you want to be the best painter in the world. You can be. You just have to keep practicing. And, don't underestimate the power of consistency. Like, I get better at talking and better with my memory the more that I use my memory and the more that I talk. And, I'll continue to practice that, and I'll continue to try to be a better yapper so that I can make better content for you guys. I'll continue to try to be a better father. I'll continue to try to be a better partner to my partner. But don't underestimate the power of that. You're building momentum, even if it's slow. And, small progress is still something to celebrate. You don't have to rush your journey. The path forward, it literally is made one step at a time, and you're learning and growing and evolving every single day. And even the setbacks can be a part of progress. And what feels small now is not always going to be small. One day it's going to grow into something bigger. Like one day this channel is going to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I'm going to be proud of it. But you got to keep showing up, even in the smallest ways. And progress is progress no matter how it looks. You're not stuck, you're just moving slowly. And every step forward is going to break the cycle of staying the same. And a lot of people don't give themselves credit when they do make that progress. They just beat themselves up because they're not, Yngwie Malmsteen at the guitar or Steve Vai, They're like, yeah, they just don't give themselves credit, but you really got to give yourself credit, and it's going to keep you going. And small wins are still wins. And the effort you put in today is going to matter tomorrow. And you don't need to do everything, just something. Maybe one day you just want to practice scales on the guitar instead of, doing sweep picking and alternate picking and all that other stuff. Maybe you're just going to practice one thing instead of a collection of things, and you're still going to be doing good, I always pick one little thing or a few different things, but nothing like, I don't try to overload myself, because then you're just going to have trouble, and, you don't want to bite off more than you can chew. So just do a little bit at a time and keep nicking away at that. Like in Minecraft when you're mining, and eventually you're going to find diamonds, but you just got to, take it one block at a time. And, always rest when you need to rest and stuff like that, but you got to keep pushing, even if it's just a little bit. And, you're making progress, no matter how hard it is to see. And growth, it does take time, but you're on your way. And the little things, they do matter more than you think. One step at a time is still a path forward. And you're not behind, you're just building at your own pace. Even small progress is still progress, and you're proving that every single day. So continue to try your best to show up every day, and another bit of advice I would have is to pick something that you love, because when you love something, you're going to show up for that thing, and you're going to show up every day. I love content creation, and it's something I show up to every day, and I make these videos because I want to inspire other people and leave a positive impact on the world, and that way, once it's my time and, I pass away, at least I left something behind for people to remember me by, and stuff that'll give them good advice in their life. And yeah, that's pretty much all I've got. I hope that this video kind of helped you, and I hope, you got some value out of it, because that's my ultimate goal, is to provide value to people and to create something that's going to resonate with them and improve their lives in some kind of way. And of course a lot of this has already been said before, but, these videos serve as a reminder to you, because life can be busy and life can be loud. And when, life is crazy, videos like this serve as a reminder. So that's what I'm here for, is to be a reminder, not necessarily to be the originator of all of this information, because people have said this before, but it's definitely good to have those reminders, and nobody says it exactly the same, so you can always there's always a different angle. So my angle might benefit people more than someone else's angle, and that's kind of how I look at it, and that's how you should look at what you're doing. Try to look at it in a positive way instead of beating yourself up or being like, oh, I'm unoriginal or I'm not good enough. You are good enough. Just show up and keep doing what you're doing. Keep fighting that good fight. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. And yeah, thank you guys for the support and everything. And I'll see you in the next one.